So with that, I'd like to start the session on digital transformation with SAP Business One as the platform. I'm Gary Feldman. I'm the president of iBusiness Network. We are a former reseller of SAP Business One, and we have just become client advocates, helping customers through partner organizations to help them on their digital transformation journey. Today, we're going to be talking about, Business One and digital transformation. And I hope everybody who attends the session has or comes to the realization that digital transformation is not really hard or scary, especially with a platform like SAP Business One. Experts define digital transformation in a variety of ways. The size and scale of your organization directly impacts your definition. But in essence, digital transformation is continuous business improvement at the speed of modern technology. The process of transformation is not new. We just have better tools for improving business processes and their outcomes. We have gone from pen and paper to computers, and then we outsourced computers to the cloud. And now with artificial intelligence and agentic AI, we've further outsourced redundant and routine tasks to computers. So, when you think about digital transformation and the speed of technology, I always come back to Moore's Law, which was the observation of Gordon Moore, the founder of Intel, that the number of transistors in an integrated circuit doubles about every 2 years with minimal cost increase. Whether or not this observation remains true is less relevant than the implication regarding the pace of change in a digital society. The compounding effect of computing advances has rendered typewriters, facsimile machines, dial-up modems, and many other advances in technology obsolete. How will artificial intelligence and quantum computing affect the corner drugstore, an industrial manufacturer, or a wholesale distributor? That's yet to be written, but know that it is coming. Knowing that advances in computing will continue to evolve at an ever-increasing pace, business owners face an imperative to innovate. We all know that Amazon started as a bookstore and became the largest public cloud company and the largest online retailer in the world. More and more retail and distribution companies are confronted by competition from Amazon every day. With Amazon offering next day and more frequent same-day delivery, business owners need to respond at an increasing speed. If your new customer approval process takes 3 people in 5 days, you've already lost that sale. Adopting cloud and integration tools that get you closer to your customers, vendors, and service partners is becoming less of a choice than an imperative. So, how do you do it, right? You or your SAP partner probably has a methodology for improving your business processes with Business One. Digital transformation is the same, but all methodologies should really start with a focus on the company's business, driven by their purpose and vision. And a digital transformation initiative seeks to enhance the customer's unique value proposition to the market. That's that little UVP there on the screen. You may have noticed that in addition to the people, process, and technology of historical process improvement initiatives, we added data. Data ownership, governance, and security are critical to ensuring a digital transformation process does not become subject to AI hallucinations. And your digital transformation initiatives must be viewed as a continuous improvement process journey that requires senior leader management, at senior leadership for success. The teams that you put together should be inclusive and cross-departmental and managed to ensure success. So I'm just going to look at my screen to make sure that we have no questions and Q&As. But really, the way I look at technology is an accelerator of change. Just like Gordon's, Moore's law, everything is moving faster, and we need to use the technology that's available to us to keep up with the pace of change. So, as we look at digital transformation, I want to take a step back and talk about how we kind of got here. You know, the when you started picking your system, SAP Business One, you probably went through an RFP process and you looked at business requirements, and you were looking at what does the system need to do, what features and functions does it have. When you're looking at this digital transformation, I want you to be thinking about business capabilities, right? I want you to think about what can you do differently to improve your business, and how can we leverage technology to make that happen. And as we go through projects, we typically look at similar tools to what you've used in the past, right? There are tons of tools for process improvement, and I would bet most people on this webinar have used a SWOT, straight weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, as an analysis mechanism. So when doing digital transformation, I often recommend using approaches which are different to what you have traditionally used in your strategic planning. In 1995, professors Hambrick and Fredrickson asked the question, are you sure you have a strategy? In their research, they proposed using a strategy diamond as a framework to answer the question and or develop a strategy. This tool is kind of ideal for a new product, service, or entity launch to ensure that you have a comprehensive strategy before making investments. Often digital transformation is like a product launch, except now it's a business model launch. So when using this methodology, you kind of go around the 5 diamonds of this diagram here, starting with arena, which is where does the business compete, or where will the business compete? I had a guy who worked for me who was the original developer of Peachtree, and then he moved over to Navision, and then they got bought by Microsoft. And he became the head of competitive intelligence for what is now Business Central. And they asked him the question, who is our main competition? And when he came back with the answer of Salesforce, they said, you're not in charge of Microsoft CRM. We want to understand, where is our competition for the ERP products? And he came back and said, no, you don't understand. Salesforce isn't just the competition for CRM. They're also your competition against SQL Server, because they run on Oracle and they're going to take your customers, which is going to reduce your licenses. So you have to kind of think a little bit more strategically and think about, do you have a well-defined target market geography, and like vehicles are kind of like your route to market, right? How are you going to achieve your success? Will you develop a product internally and use organic growth, or are you going to acquire intellectual property as Boyum was doing around the Bayaz piece? They're doing both. Will you franchise your ideas? Will you develop internal sales and marketing, or will you license your intellectual property? There are so many different ways to go to market, and sometimes it's good to take a step back and think about that, especially when you think in terms of differentiators, right? Why will the target customer select you over the competition? This is often referred to that as that unique value proposition. Right? What do you do differently? What is your compelling method? And then, in what order and how fast will you move? This is your staging. Sometimes being the first mover is not an advantage. It's short-lived and the competition leapfrogs you, where at other times speed can be the difference between a winner and a want-to-be. So you may choose a pilot program to prove the concept before a complete launch to mitigate risk. Then you move on to the final aspect, which is the economic logic, which is where I really think a lot of AI projects in the large enterprise at first have failed, and how, in the small to mid-sized market, we can benefit, which is to understand how will a return on the investment be created. Revenue are not always above costs in an initial product launch or in an AI or digital transformation initiative until a certain scale is realized. I know there are a lot of partners on the conference here who saw the BTP come out and we're trying to think, how the heck am I going to make money with this thing? And now, after a period of time, people are starting to see how they can make money with the BTP platform, business transformation platform, most often used with the business suite. However, you don't have a clear strategy without an understanding of the economic model, which will create the profitability. So, that's where, from my perspective, it's key here to have a facilitator that understands how to use improvement tools and how to translate them to today's technology. But really, it only matters if it's in context with your business objectives. So Shelley Bitter, my partner, often, reminds me that a great AI programmer is useless without an understanding of the context of the business outcome and the environment. So if we think about how are we going to approach this, it's always important to know where you are and where you're going and how you're going to get there. And when it comes to like AI, there are lots of different stair steps that you can take to get to agentic AI, right? With each step having a greater ROI throughout the process, right? Education is starting at the beginning, and it's learning about the components, the capabilities, and costs of using AI. When you're talking about readiness, you really are evaluating your current technology, processes, and staff to determine if you have the infrastructure and the capabilities to begin an AI-centered project. A good indication of your readiness is that your staff are already using AI assistants like Copilot or ChatGPT. Readiness for AI automations is much like other automation. It requires a deep understanding of the process. So when you start getting into AI-powered products, a lot of the robotic process automation or RPA tools like the BPA platform, Celigo, Dell, or it's not Dell anymore, Boomi, are middleware products, Alluvia. These are solutions that were built with Business One in mind that can give you results with low startup costs and little commitment. MyWave, who was on our panel before, allows you to upload a purchase order in a format that an AI agent will create, from an email into Business One, for example. These are examples of robotic process automation and maybe a little bit of AI sprinkled into it. But then when you get to true agentic AI, they're going beyond these templated solutions, which are a great way to start. And even though they might not fully match your business processes, a custom AI agent could improve your results better than just meeting your requirements. So a custom solution can create a collection of agents that address your more complex processes. Even Pure with its predefined agentic AI is really a collection of small agents that are tied together so that they can accomplish more complicated tasks. And this is really where agentic AI is going. So when you look at the talking heads and you ask them where is AI going, and all of the major ERP publishers believe that the AI market opportunity for consulting and reselling partners will be greater than the opportunity to sell new ERP systems when everyone already has one. but almost nobody in our space is really an AI expert today. New tools and techniques are coming out fast and furious, and now is the time to prepare. Anthropic was founded in 2021, and it's the maker of the AI assistant Claude. And they were people who broke off from OpenAI, the ChatGPT people, and funded mostly from big investors from like Amazon and Google. And they were the ones that came out. Oh, sorry, I went too far. They're the ones that came out with the Model Context Protocol, MCP, that Moshe Nachman referred to earlier today. That's a universal protocol agent for interaction using standard APIs to connect AI assistants and agents to large language models and other data sources like SAP Business One. MCP was open sourced intentionally to eliminate bottlenecks and siloing of data and retrieving data from on-site legacy systems. Think about it as ODBC for AI. It's designed to have, with like a host, a client, and a server, and it's really kind of revolutionary in its a modularized approach and universal approach to AI. And again, sorry, the thing must have had a timing on it. But really, MCP is also adding to security because its design places an emphasis on keeping the AI's access controlled. The client-server relationship is modular and one-to-one, so each client can only talk to one server. And because this MCP instantiates clients and approved servers, a user or an organization can strictly manage what an AI assistant is allowed to connect to. So AI and agentic AI specifically is going to grow and explode over the next couple of years. And, from my perspective, it's already here today. It's just not widely deployed yet. So this is what we really all came for, which is how do we do this on our system? How do we do this within SAP Business One? And this is where SAP Business One has an advantage over a lot of the competition because of HANA, OpenAI, Open APIs, the service layer, all the integration capabilities, and the 83,000 customers, the people like MyWave, and the partners like Consultera and Celeritech and all the other partners who are already developing AI for their particular industry solutions. And, I kind of took the SAP Business Suite model for AI, and I kind of just plugged Business One here in this picture, and hopefully you can read it because I know some of those letters are pretty small. But when you're looking at a digital platform for creating business outcomes, you really need a few attributes. The first and foremost being a data structure that can store, characterize, and secure your data. And one of the things that I've always loved about Business One is the master data and transaction data, the marketing documents, the way that they're so consistent and so easily understood and personalized for your particular needs. Then you need that open architecture to read, write, and secure data within the file structure, whether it be HANA or it be Microsoft SQL. And then you need tools and interactivity with standard tools for developing your agents, your processes, your business outcomes. It's just an extra added benefit now with the extensibility of the web client and mobility that we could really get to that place where we are in a clientless future, where Microsoft Teams, as shown before by Richard Duffy in the previous session, can become the user interface and the voice becomes your keyboard. So when you're looking at how you want to deploy this, you really do need to have an implementation methodology, right? They're designed and developed to ensure predictable results and eliminate project surprises. Most of you should be familiar with the top image, the SAP Business One ASAP methodology, which really mirrors the second methodology there, which is a digital transformation methodology used by a partner, or the third methodology there, which is more generic to digital transformation. But the key to these things are that AI is going to work with your data. So during any preparation phase, you have to be certain that the data that you're pointing an AI at is clean and sufficient for the agent to use. Bad data will result in bad results. So you do not want AI to be making hallucinations because it's looking at incorrect information. During a test or an evaluation phase, consider how much you want to have the human in the loop to ensure both accuracy of the agents, but acceptance of the agent's actions. And this is where a pilot phase or having a human say, okay, at each critical point in the process ensures the accuracy and acceptance. And that's why you want to launch carefully, because the last thing you want to do is automate mistakes. So, a partnership between the customer and their SAP partner is critical through the transformation journey, because you want to know both the process, the system, the technology, and it results in a lower risk and faster adoption of the technology for the rapid transformation with maximum ROI. I would suggest that you consider attending the 2:30 session about best practices for working in collaboration between the customer and partner with Anita Anello, who's been around forever helping customers. And both of us work with and through partners. So, as we get near the end of our time, and I was hoping to leave a couple of minutes for question and answer, customers and partners work together to meet your business objectives, right? When working with customers and their partners, we always start with the discovery. So the objectives of the technology, the products, and the business are aligned for those business outcomes. There are tons of ways to start with a low-risk AI project using prototypes that have already been developed by leading partners and experts. On the blog post of the Business One community, you'll see a blog post on how I created an SAP Business One chatbot using Microsoft Copilot Studio while I was taking a Copilot Studio class and realizing that this technology is way above my head, but simple enough that I could create a chatbot so I didn't have to write queries anymore. Mad said it in the Boyum session, Moshe Nachman said it, Richard Duffy said it. The days of writing queries are probably near an end, because I know a lot of partners who are using ChatGPT to basically take their existing queries and make them more efficient. So then once you get through some of these prototypes, you might want to consider, tools like MyWave and ERPure, or some of the other partner generated tools that have been built to work with SAP Business One as an entryway into agentic AI. Really, there's no reason why. I have a prospect right now who receives 100 emails a day with orders. Those, I would say, at least in a first pass, we'll be able to automate 70% of those with an agent. So many ways to do this. In conclusion, I want you to think of digital transformation as a journey supported by evolving technologies, strategic frameworks, and platforms like SAP Business One. Successful implementation requires comprehensive planning, adoption of these modern tools, and embracing AI to drive innovation and competitive advantage. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or any of the other partners who are here today on this virtual conference. It looks like I do have a couple of questions in the QA. Do you have a feeling for what will be some of the first areas where AI agents will impact SAP Business One? So, yes, I mean, obviously the queries and the help bots are already here. There's no reason that you should not be using even a generic generative AI tool like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude to ask them how to write a query. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do right now is share a different screen. Let's see. Here's my Teams. I'm going to share that. This is my agent. I am not a good query writer, so I just ask it questions. How do you augment the query to include only business partners that are active? How do you identify the primary contact? It's just answering these questions for me. How do you set password requirements for a new company? Like all of these different questions, all I did was point this at the help files on the website, and it answers 90% of my questions automatically. The next thing that I think that you really should be looking at are some of these document generation tools that are coming out. You know, the one like the Pure, I believe very soon they'll be able to take a purchase order and ingest it as a sales order if it is not there already. These are the kind of tools that are going to be coming relatively fast and furious, you know, because they're just relatively complex, but so much demand for them that they will be out in no time flat. Intelligent data entry, I'm not 100% sure how you would define that, but this is where I've seen tools where you could just go into Teams and say, hey bot, you know, can you please enter a sales order for customer C3000 Earthshaker for item number A0001 at a price of $26, and then give them a document discount of 10%. And an agent should be able to do that and create it as a quote or a draft or at whatever level of confidence you think it is. So those tools are pretty much already available. Another area which I'm sure will be done quickly is taking emails and ingesting them as activities on the business partner or associated with documents or service calls in the system. There was one, I believe, from Core Systems that had already been created for their field service module that really helps the service desk a lot. So with that, I've got to run. Hopefully you've got another session coming up. Please join us at 4 o'clock in the network wrap up. And I look forward to seeing you on more community events. Have a great day.